This man runs a $3 trillion empire, but he wakes up every single morning utterly convinced his company is going bankrupt. Why is the world's most powerful tech billionaire totally obsessed with failure? To understand the paranoia, we have to go back to 1995. Long before the world knew what ChatGPT was, Nvidia was a tiny, failing startup. Jensen and his co-founders had built a revolutionary 3D graphics chip called the NV1. It was supposed to change video games forever. Instead, it was a total disaster. The market shifted overnight. Microsoft announced a new software standard that made Nvidia's chip completely obsolete. Jensen was stuck with a product nobody wanted, a team of demoralized engineers, and a bank account rapidly bleeding dry. He was exactly 30 days away from missing payroll and locking the doors forever. Total, humiliating bankruptcy. But instead of folding, Jensen made a single, desperate, and completely insane $5 million phone call. A phone call that should have ended his career. But instead, it planted the seed for a $3 trillion empire. We'll look at that exact phone call in just a moment. But first, we have to look at the dark psychological trait that allowed Jensen to survive it. Jensen Huang doesn't just tolerate suffering, he actively craves it. And it started when he was just 9 years old. Sent from Taiwan to rural Kentucky, Jensen ended up at a harsh reform school for troubled youth. He wasn't a troubled kid, but he had to adapt fast. He was assigned a daily chore that most people would find degrading, cleaning the toilets for an entire dormitory of 100 boys. Most people would look back on that memory with resentment. Jensen looks back on it as a superpower. He learned how to put his head down, block out the noise, and do the hardest, dirtiest work with absolute perfection. He developed what psychologists call an extreme tolerance for pain. When he founded Nvidia, he brought that exact toilet cleaning, survivalist mentality into the boardroom. He didn't want a comfortable corporate culture. He structured Nvidia like an army permanently under siege. Even today, as a multi-billionaire, Jensen doesn't have an office. He wanders the building, working out of cubicles, eating in the company cafeteria with interns, and constantly pushing his engineers to the brink. He famously stated that a company is never more than 30 days away from going out of business. If you aren't running scared, you're already dead. And in the early 2000s, that paranoia forced him into a brutal, bloody rivalry that almost destroyed everything he built. By the mid-2000s, Nvidia had bounced back and found its footing. They were making millions selling graphics cards to hardcore PC gamers. But Jensen was restless. He looked at tech giants like Intel and AMD and realized that fighting them in a traditional price war was a losing battle. So, Jensen decided to commit corporate suicide. In 2006, he forced Nvidia to pivot. He forced his engineers to build a new architecture called CUDA. It allowed Nvidia's gaming chips to do something weird, solve incredibly complex, heavy mathematical equations, the kind used by scientists, not gamers. Wall Street absolutely hated it. Analysts blasted Jensen. They called CUDA a useless vanity project that was destroying Nvidia's profits. For nearly a decade, Nvidia spent billions of dollars developing this tech, while the market for it was essentially zero. Think about the sheer mental pressure. For 10 straight years, your rivals are making guaranteed billions selling standard computer parts, while you're pouring your company's lifeblood into a market that doesn't even exist yet. But remember, Jensen cleans toilets. Jensen expects to fail. He didn't care about the mockery. He knew that a massive, invisible wave was forming in the deep tech underground. And then, the world woke up. In the 2000s, AI researchers realized something mind-blowing. The standard processors made by Intel couldn't handle the massive workload required to train artificial intelligence. But Nvidia's weird, scientist-friendly graphics chips, they were perfect. Suddenly, that $0 billion market became the most important industry in human history. When the AI revolution exploded with ChatGPT, tech giants didn't just want Nvidia's chips, they needed them to survive. Tech companies started buying Jensen's chips by the hundreds of thousands, treating them like digital gold. Remember that desperate $5 million phone call Jensen made back in 1995, when he had 30 days of cash left. He had called the CEO of Sega, admitting his chip failed, but begged for the money anyway, just to keep his company alive. Sega gave it to him out of sheer respect for his transparency. Jensen took that mercy money, survived, and spent the next 3 decades building a fortress out of sheer paranoia. Today, Nvidia isn't just a tech company, it's the infrastructure of the future. And the kid, who used to clean toilets, now commands a $3 trillion empire.